So all of that coming up, but first let's focus on the macros. Now, India's goods trade deficit fell to a 3.5-year low of $14 billion. This is thanks to a steep fall in imports. Imports actually declined 16% year on year, while exports fell by about 11%. Latha is here with some of the key takeaways from the numbers. Latha, these are numbers before the full extent of the trade wars hit us. What is your key takeaway?
Well, trade deficit being lower sounds good, but this is the lowest in 3.5 years, 41 months. The last time we had such low deficits were during COVID. The monthly trade deficit normally ranges between 15 billion and 25 billion. That's the average. But of course, like I told you, during COVID years, 2020, it was 6 billion to 12 billion. Again, in 21, those delta months, it was at that same level. But in a normal month, we should at least do about 15 to 25 billion. That's why I worry about this 14 billion trade deficit as very low. The Commerce Ministry officials just put it out to, high base, lower crude prices, perhaps even lower gold imports. But, the high base, yes. February of last year had one more day. It was a leap year, so 29 days. That can account for about 3% fall, not for a 16% fall in imports. And therefore, I would worry if, we should take away some worries from this. Anyway, let me give you the positives. If you count the trade deficit with the, when you say trade deficit, it's the goods trade deficit. In services, we've always been posting a surplus. But if you count the two together, we are posting a surplus for the month of February. Normally, in spite of the services surplus, the overall is still a deficit. This time, it is a surplus of $5 billion. And chances are, and again, this is the first surplus since the COVID year, 2021. The Feb numbers imply that March could also be a surplus because March always is a record for exports. People are, finishing up, meeting targets. So we are going to have 2 months of current account surplus, which means it will be a current account surplus for this quarter also. And as I spoke to economists, most of them are bringing down the current account deficit for the full year. Because the fourth quarter is a surplus, they were all working with 1 to 1.2% current account deficit as a percentage of GDP for this year. Now they're all bringing it down to maybe 0.7 thereabouts. But the negative is this fall in February imports. 16% fall in February imports. Does it mean that the economy is slowing? And the products that have slowed, petroleum products, iron and steel, transport equipment. I mean, you remember North American trucks to which Bharat Forge imports, exports. These are the kinds of things that are showing a slowdown. So I would worry about this list. Many of them are, core Indian industry. Of course, gold and silver are a class apart, but the rest of them would give me a worry if you put it along with the fact that PMI is a 14-month low in February and auto sales, all entry-level cars and bikes did badly. I would worry whether fourth quarter is not going to be a gung-ho growth quarter.
We'll keep a track of this. Thank you very much, Latha. So maybe an indicator of the continued slowdown in the economy, the slowing of imports. So we'll